You take a moment, which those guys will never have. Very few people ever have. I mean, I wasn't out there crying because I felt sorry for Arn. I was out there, I was upset because one of my best friends and a guy who legitimately will go down history and get his due for being a great worker was saying goodbye. It was real. And he was passing the torch to Kurt Hennig. It's a huge moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a huge moment. If Sting is backstage crying, because Sting was that understanding of the moment, everybody backstage should have been crying. Sting and I aren't best friends, but Sting knows what Arn's done for the business. I could go down the roster, but Sting met us at the door. That was, it wasn't because I was upset. He wasn't selling the fact that I was upset, but I was upset. But the next week, what do you accomplish?
But Kevin later apologized for his role in the...
Yeah, I'm sure he felt bad when he thought about it. I mean, whenever you think about the reality of that, it'd be like when you say something like that or imply that, and it's the same thing. Arn's son and Arn's wife are home watching this, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you think they felt? There was no mention in the whole thing about Arn being a great talker, Arn being a great worker. It was implying that all Arn did was drink beer and he was fat and out of shape and whatever else that was going on. And I'm sure Kevin felt bad about it because Kevin's got kids. Mm-hmm. Kevin's a human being. The one thing I can say about Kevin Nash that I'm consistent about is whatever Kevin said to me or to anybody else, he said to Hogan. I think Kevin Nash is a man. It wasn't just me. I mean, he was out there, but he wanted to make the most money. I get that. I have no problem with that. But the things, and the only time I can remember him being this disrespectful, but when you start messing with people's families and saying things that are hurtful to people that are not in the business because they have to hear that, then where do you go with it? What do you accomplish? That hurt Arn's family. And it hurt Arn to think that they would disrespect him like that. There's other ways of getting heat.
What's your memories of working against Scott Hall?
They're good. I like working with Scott. When Scott wanted to put the effort forth, I thought it was very good. I thought we had a real good match one night in Dayton, Ohio, that I remember. But he was, Scott was another guy putting up in that position of, no matter how much he respected me, he was forced through conversation, the way things were being structured, not to. So I was disappointed in him as a person, which I've said out loud, because I don't understand how business overrides respect, but it did for those guys. So
you were in a position where there were a lot of different groups, and Bischoff was purposely keeping these groups apart. Talk about the different groups that existed at that time.
Well, what he did is he kept everybody at bay. Hogan over here, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, whoever they were with at that time over here, Sting and Luger over here, me over here. The one component in that whole thing was the one guy that everybody beat was me. So it is what it is. It's like we had this 6-man tag in Charlotte, right? Me, Kevin Green, and Piper against those guys, and we had a great match. Scott Hall, Nash, 6. They sold us all. We beat them with our finish holds. The next day, Kevin Green goes back to football. Piper goes back home. I go to Asheville. I took everybody's finish the next day on TV. The guy who was there every day gets killed, right? And the guy that just came in for the shot got the money, and they paid Kevin Green for that match the same thing they were paying me per year. And I'll tell you a great Kevin Green story too. It's just a cool story. Kevin Green, I think, is a really tough guy. In fact, I'm sure he is. No intense he is. He called me one time. We're in Lakeland, Florida, and he said to me, and I don't know what happened, but I think Scott Hall said something smart to him, like to imply, like, "Hey, rookie," or something like that. I was walking in the locker room, and he grabbed me by the shirt, pulled me in the shower. He said, "Is he getting smart with me? I don't know, because it's like wrestling terminology." I said, "Calm down." He said, "No." He was like, he grabbed me. Go, "Do tell me, my friend, tell me. Were they getting smart with me? Because I'll go over there and beat the fuck out of both of them." He wouldn't even know, and he would too. I don't care what they think in their mind. I wouldn't want to see. I mean, Kevin Green's always in phenomenal shape, number one. He's cock strong, number two, and he doesn't think anything but first gear. It would have been boom, boom. I mean, he would have gone. It would have been a pretty good fight. I'll assure you that. And ultimately, I think Kevin Nash is pretty tough, but it would have been a no-brainer with Scott Hall. But I said, no, calm down. And I spent the whole night long. He's walking around now. He's pacing the hall, right? That's why Kevin's like goes in different gears. He's got one gear. You can sit down and relax with Kevin, but man, if he thinks that you're screwing around, that's what used to piss me off about Mongo. You know, Mongo, I'm sure, is a real bad apple. But they couldn't do anything to make Steve. Steve was just having fun there, you know what I mean? He was just going through the motions. I mean, he'd been playing football for 15 years, you know, Super Bowl ring. What you got to prove? But Steve was right. And plus the fact, I think he liked socializing with those guys, you know, especially Scott. I know he and Scott had a lot of fun together, but they used to push his buttons. I used to think, aren't Mongo beating his eat? Mongo ate 24 chicken wings after every TV and drink 20 Jacks or whatever they was drinking. He used to go, Jesus, one of these days they're going to push the wrong button. But they never did. He never turned it on.
Following this, they did an angle where you were committed to the insane asylum, and again,
Which I pulled off huge. I'm Jack Nicholson. I'm better. I was better in that role than Jack was in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I should have got a Academy Award for that. So I should get that footage to send to Hollywood now.
Should? When you look back on it now,
Yeah.
do you look at it as degrading, or you look at it as you pulled it off?
I don't look at it as being degraded at all.
No.
Because I was just glad to be involved. I was working with Nash, and Nash was the booker, you know, did that angle where he powerbombed me in Gainesville. Steve Spurrier was there, the whole football coach. I mean, it was great. I was back in the main event. They took me out in an ambulance, said Florida Mental Hospital, and drove off. An hour later, I was at the Purple Porpoise and at the Swamp, 2 bars all night long with my friends drinking. Got 3,000 college kids. I had a lot of fun. I mean, anytime I could perform in front of my friends, and Nash and I had a real good match that night too. I mean, Nash always worked with me. I mean, I got no problem. I mean, I have nothing. I mean, he worked his ass off with me. But you know what's funny is that Eric didn't want him. Eric didn't want him to work with me. I mean, I saw Nash when Nash first came in. We walked in the hotel one night, his first day in. He goes, "Man, am I looking forward to working with you?" I said, "Me too, thanks." But I didn't even know him that well. I just had met him a little bit, and I knew he had a good run up there and worked hard. But once again, he was put in that position of, and it wasn't him saying that. I'll never believe that Nash and Hall weren't said, hey, it was a master plan, and I'm sure by Eric to, you know, downscale me. I don't think it was malicious. I just think it was business, you know. And once again, I wouldn't say it with a word today. I wouldn't be upset. If I was making that same, if I was making $1.5 million, they could have fucking tied me up like the mummy. I wouldn't have cared.
Did you ever?
See, the mental institution thing got over so good. Whatever happened after that? I can't remember. How did I ever get out? I just woke up one day and I was better. I can't remember.
I don't remember how you got out either. You were running the company still from the mental asylum. That was
I know, yeah.
That was the irony of it.
The thing with Scott Hall, right past Scott, when Scott and I were on a bus. You saw that, right? We did the vignette. I mean, the vignettes were unbelievable.
Did they give you a lot of direction on this?
Huh?
The vignettes? Who was writing those vignettes?
I think Nash was.
Nash was.
Yeah, Nash. I think Nash. I mean, it was fun for me. I was being featured again. I could never complain when I was being featured. In any capacity, because I could pull off whatever they're asking me to do. Just let me do something, you know. I was thinking the thing that was funny about that is that, yeah, it was, who was it? Oh, that guy I called him AAA and all that. I mean, they brought some good people in to help participate in that, the actors and that. It was fun. I have no complaints about that. I wish I could remember how I got out.
You did some title changes with Jeff Jarrett, and I think your inner ear problem came back at some point during that.
Yeah. Jeff hit me with a guitar one night, and it popped back out. They didn't know. I mean, I didn't know it till I laid down because I couldn't get up right away.
Why did they strip you of the belt instead of waiting until you were recovered to do the rematch? Why do you think it was so important to switch the belt back?
I don't know. You'd have to ask them that. I will say this because that's important. I say this. We're back in the locker room, and Kevin Nash said, "I'll drive you home." I remember that, Kevin. So clearly, when other stuff comes up, when I try to build some kind of a relationship of lack of respect for me and Kevin Nash or whatever Bischoff was doing, he's the first guy that said that. I'll take you home. I'm thanking him now. So that caught me off guard because, of course, in my mind, I'm the enemy to everybody.